So I remember being a kid growing up in South Africa, and my first real taste of religion was going to an Anglican church with my parents, and then a Hebrew preschool one day, and singing Havana Gila the next. And it was kind of funny, but it started me thinking, even as a kid, about different ways people understand the universe and what we call God and why we do it. And I never really stopped thinking about that stuff, and I think that's where the existential question started for me about what life even means. So I read all the major religious texts, the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, and some Hindu texts trying to make sense of this thing called life and existence. And honestly, none of them had answers that completely resonated with me, because they all come at it from very different angles, and none of them could answer the deeper questions in a way that felt physically grounded. So I turned to philosophy and the works of people like Schopenhauer and Nietzsche, trying to understand what happens when you strip away dogma and just look at the human condition. And then I found science fiction, and that was where a lot of the big ideas started coming together for me, because it let me explore concepts that are as existential as religion without being constrained by an ancient text or cultural narrative. And I think fundamentally I've always been driven by curiosity rather than by faith in the traditional sense, which is why I once described my religion, for lack of a better word, as the religion of curiosity, where we try to expand the scope and scale of consciousness rather than just accept the answers that are given to us. I mean, what's more exciting than asking, why are we here, and actually trying to do something about it? So I've said I'm not a particularly religious person because I haven't committed to a particular creed or dogma, but I do respect a lot of the moral teachings found in traditions like Christianity, especially principles like forgiveness and treating others as you'd want to be treated, because those are ideas that have clearly helped human societies thrive over millennia, and you don't need to subscribe to the supernatural elements of a religion to see their social value. I've said things like turn the other cheek are actually wise, and that forgiveness is important because strength without compassion isn't strength at all. And those are principles I think are worth holding on to outside of religion. But when it comes to the big question of does God exist, I'm open to believing in things in proportion to the information that I receive, and I'm very open to the idea of God as some kind of creator or first cause of the universe. Because when you ask where the universe came from, you have to confront that mystery. And a lot of people label that unknown origin God, but that term means different things to different people. So if you say God created the universe, some people think of a personal deity who intervenes in everyday life and judges morals. And that's not something I see evidence for, because if there was a moral observer constantly watching, then why does evil still happen in the world the way it does? So I've said maybe there's some entity you could call God at the origin of existence, but I don't know. And I'm still figuring it out, and as I learn more, I want my views to match the evidence. I mean, the universe has to start somewhere, and it's either just here or something caused it. And if that cause is eternal law or force or intelligence or something we'd call God, it's not clear. And people have different labels for it, and I'm comfortable with that ambiguity, because I think a lot of deep wisdom comes from admitting you don't have all the answers and pushing forward to expand awareness. And that's what I usually mean when I talk about the intersection of science and faith. I also once said that if Jesus is saving people, I won't stand in his way because I agree with many of the teachings attributed to him, and I think they've contributed to human flourishing, and we should learn from what's worked and what hasn't. And I've said that while I'm not a believer in the doctrinal sense, I tend to identify as a cultural Christian in the sense that I grew up with those stories and values, and they have shaped my thinking, but that doesn't mean I adhere to every belief or supernatural claim in the Bible. People think you have to check a box and say, yes, I believe this or that. No, I don't. It's more complex than that. It's a tapestry of ideas that I've interacted with and I'm still interacting with. And I think for any thoughtful person, you should constantly update your beliefs based on evidence and reason. And that includes existential questions about God, life, purpose, consciousness, and the future of humanity. And that's really the perspective I bring to all of this. I try to approach belief and faith with curiosity and humility, not certainty and dogma, because the universe is way bigger and stranger than any one story could ever fully capture. So later on, when I started getting deeper into physics, the existential questions only got louder because physics doesn't just explain how things work. It forces you to confront the fact that the universe is unbelievably precise, almost suspiciously precise, in a way that makes you wonder whether existence is just one giant cosmic coincidence, or whether there's some deeper structure woven into reality that we haven't figured out yet. And I remember thinking that if the constants of physics were just slightly different, stars wouldn't form, planets wouldn't form, life wouldn't form. And that's the sort of thing that makes you raise the eyebrow, because it's either the mother of all coincidences or there's something more behind it. And some people jump straight to God did it. But I think it's healthier to stay open and curious, because the moment you say you have the answer, you stop looking for a better one. And I never want to stop looking, and that's why I say I believe in the potential existence of some higher order of reality. Not necessarily a God in the traditional sense, but maybe a kind of cosmic architecture or intelligence that precedes everything we see and measure, and that belief isn't really faith, it's more like acknowledging the limits of human knowledge and keeping the door open to possibilities that don't yet have names. And then when I got into the existential questions really escalated, because once you imagine creating something smarter than yourself, you start asking what intelligence really is and whether consciousness is just physics or something more. And if consciousness is emergent, then maybe the universe is trying to understand itself through us and through anything else that might arise. And that's a pretty profound idea, because if true, then existence isn't passive, it's participatory. It means the universe is writing itself through the awareness of the beings inside it. And that's almost spiritual in a way, even if it's grounded in science. And I've said before that I don't pray in the traditional sense, but I do hope and I do reflect, and sometimes when I'm staring at the stars or thinking about the fragility of life on Earth, I feel this sense of awe that's probably not too different from what religious people feel when they talk about God. The difference is I'm not assigning that awe to a personality or a deity. I'm assigning it to the mystery itself and trying to understand it with the tools we have, and maybe build better tools so that future humans can understand more. And when people ask me whether I believe in an afterlife, I usually say something like, Well, I'm not convinced, but I'd be happy if there is one. Because it would mean consciousness doesn't just disappear into the void. And honestly, the void seems wasteful, and I'm an engineer. I don't like waste, so I'm open to the possibility that consciousness has layers or dimensions that we haven't discovered yet. And maybe death isn't the end. Maybe it's a transition, but I can't claim to know. And I think admitting you don't know is a kind of honesty that's missing in a lot of conversations about faith and existence. And sometimes people get frustrated that I'm not more decisive about these things. But I think the more you learn, the harder it is to be certain about anything. Because certainty is comfortable, but curiosity is transformative. And I guess that's the core of my worldview, that the search for meaning is more meaningful than any single answer. And we should keep searching because that's how we grow, and that's how civilization moves forward. And if there is some kind of cosmic creator or intelligence behind the universe, then the best way to honor that intelligence isn't blind belief, but expanding ours, pushing the boundaries of knowledge, exploring the stars, safeguarding consciousness, and making sure life doesn't vanish from the universe before it ever understands what it truly is. And that's why I talk about making life multiplanetary and protecting the future of consciousness. Because whether you call it God, creation, the universe, destiny, or just the improbable miracle of physics, this existence we have is rare, fragile, and incredibly special, and it deserves every effort we can make to preserve it and transcend it. And that's the closest thing I have to faith. The belief that consciousness matters, that curiosity matters, that the universe becoming aware of itself matters, and that we shouldn't waste the chance we've been given to understand who we are, where we came from, and what might be beyond the horizon we can see right now.